Doug. Did you know that today in 480 BCE, the Battle of Thermopylae began, where King Leonidas led 7,000 unified Greeks to stop the Persian army of Xerxes?
This is Sparta.
No, Doug. This is a podcast. Now, go take your meds while I start the show. Welcome to the Diehards. Now, in general, we tend to view all players through rose-colored glasses. We want all players to succeed. However, tonight we are offering you the truth. But sometimes you don't want the truth, because deep down in places you don't talk about, at parties, you want me on that wall. You need me. I'm sorry. I started to channel Colonel Jessup there. My apologies. But maybe you don't like their situation. Maybe you don't like their outlook. Hell, maybe you just don't like the cut of their jib. But tonight, Doug and I will give you the players we are ignoring in our drafts. I am your host, JJ Wenner. And as always, I am joined by the fantasy orthical himself, Doug Orth. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm energized after that intro. That's what I am. Other than that, just loving life. How about you, JJ? What's going on with you?
Well, some people say you look just like Leonidas.
No
with
kidding.
Your shirt off. Yeah. I mean, they're drunk and blind, but
well, I saw some of those people at the expo, so it's drunk and blind, I guess, right?
Well, there you go. All right, Doug. Is there anything the good people should know before we begin?
I don't think so. I think you explained it pretty well. Just we'll try to bang these out as quickly as we can and be efficient for once. Can we do that?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So let's start with QBs, Doug. Who are you avoiding in your drafts?
Okay, well, I'm going to surprise myself a little bit here and go with this is anti-Jets rhetoric, but Justin Fields.
The fuck
this
you
has
say?
This has very little to do with Fields, the player, and more to do with who is available around the same area in drafts. Generally speaking, I love the idea of having that kind of run threat to me available in the 9th or 10th round. However, he strikes me as an ideal high upside QB2 because there are pronounced peaks and valleys with him in that offense. That is not an area of a draft I want to go drafting my QB2. As for some other players around that available around the same time, I have J.J. McCarthy ranked higher, and he goes a round or so later. Drake May seems to be everyone's sleeper pick this year, and he goes nearly a full round later. Neither McCarthy nor May have the same rushing upside, but both have significantly more passing upside. Now, a career year for Fields would be 2,800 passing yards and 18 passing touchdowns. No one should be surprised if May and McCarthy each throw for 4,000 plus and 25 scores. Both of those youngsters I mentioned play for creative veteran OCs, while Fields gets first-time play caller Tanner Engstrand. Now, I love the idea of having Fields for depth, but I'm admittedly scared by the prospect of him being my weekly starter in 12-team leagues this year. With that said, and this will wrap this up, with that said, ignore everything I just said if you are in a super flex league. In that kind of format, you should be able to live with his peaks and celebrate his you should be able to live with his valleys and celebrate his peaks. To me, that's the ideal QB2 in a super flex. So what do you think about your new boy? Because he is your new boy, Justin Fields.
Doug, you ignorant slut. When I first saw that you were going to talk about Justin Fields, I was a little saddened. But if I'm being honest, I have been slowly souring on the prospects of the Jets this season. Now, I don't know if that is just me being a Jets fan, and I'm used to the highs in preseason followed by the depths of hell during the season. But I'm a little bit concerned. I'm a little bit concerned about his passing. I'm hoping we see top shelf Justin Fields. I'm hoping we see growth from last year. I've been hearing good things, and I hope we see it, but I cannot blame you, especially in 1 QB leagues, from saying, nah, there's other guys I would rather take. Now, Vince says Fieldsy slander will not be tolerated. Vince, I appreciate you, but we're speaking the truth tonight, and sometimes, as my therapist likes to say, the truth hurts.
Well, and shout out to your therapist.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, dear Lord. You're crazy. All right. So for me,
yes,
the quarterback I'm avoiding, and I don't know if I'm avoiding, I just never draft them, is Tua Tagovailoa. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Once again, like, this is based on some numbers. It's based on general knowledge, but it's based on, I just don't want these players. I don't want Tua on my team. Between his concussion history, right? He misses time every year.
Yep.
Eventually one is going to be the end. Like, he won't play anymore. And the fact that his offensive line is offensive, like, originally I had a bunch of Dolphins on here. I told you pre-show.
Yeah.
I'm so out on that team. Yeah. So I don't know. Mike McDaniel is no longer magical, right? He had that run where he was like the cool coach wearing the tight pants and the nice sneakers. Now to me, he looks like a coked up, like, South Miami guy. I'm just so avoiding that team. I don't know. What do you think about Tua this year? Are you, even in a super flex league, are you taking Tua?
Super flex, I'm a little bit more accepting of him, but as a rule, no. I think I would have my second quarterback by the time I would be considering Tua in a super flex. And the thing is, though, if you're, I don't even know what situation. I'm trying to think of a situation you would have where you could write out where you could play him as a matchup based starter. And I don't think I would want that either, because I think Miami's set to implode this year, just like you said, either because of the offensive line, because of Tyreek, Darren Waller getting hurt. I don't know. I mean, there's so many. Every team has their unpredictabilities anyway. Miami's is just so obvious, and I guess I'll just leave it at that. They're teetering. They're teetering on the edge.
One step closer to edge, and I'm about to break. All right, Douglas. Why don't you? Oh, we had the same guy here. Why don't you kick off the running backs?
Yeah, well, JJ, I don't do summer reading, but I try to learn things during the summer.
Oh, good for you.
And one word I have learned this year is hopium. Are you familiar with hopium?
No, but I have tried some Iraq.
Hopium is about the only thing I can think of when describing people who are still drafting Joe Mixon.
Oh.
In the middle rounds in particular. As of early June, he was on track for camp. He progressed from a walking boot to wearing a brace to having increased mobility over the summer. He then had some kind of setback and was placed on the NFI non-football injury list. As far as I know, he hasn't done a thing in the preseason. There's a very good chance he's going to begin the season on the PUP list, which would knock him out for at least the first 4 games. Okay, that's one thing. Let's just say it was just 4 games. Okay, let's say he's back after 4 games, JJ. What's the expectation when he comes back? Was Nick Chubb signed for insurance? Was Woody Marks drafted with an eye on 2026? What if the new offense suits Dameon Pierce more than the last year's offense did? How about that offensive line, JJ? There is no way in my mind that the answer to all of these questions works out in the favor of Mixon. And all of that assumes he will even play a snap in 2025. I think we feel similarly about Mixon, so I'll let you wax poetic on him.
Yeah, I'm with you. Everything you said, I agree with. As Vince said, he's more like Joe Mixon, as in missing games because he's injured. No, like, Joe Mixon was a volume-based back. He got a lot of volume. And now they added Chubb, who I also don't care about, right? Like he's not, unfortunately, Chubb's not the Chubb we used to know. So I don't know who's getting the ball, but I can't see them being successful with Mixon. So, I mean, I'd really, and I mean this honestly from like the deepest part of my heart, I think I'd rather have syphilis than Joe Mixon on my roster.
Oh.
I mean, listen, I don't think I'm far off, right?
Well, I was going to say, I don't know how to make a transition here, but Sean Teague in the chat, he did say he tried hopium in college. So maybe the two of you, maybe he's got the drugs and you got you need the cure.
Hey. I'm actually pretty much of an angel, except at the expo. Sean says he's avoiding Michael Carter. Hey, don't slander Michael Carter. He is still a great running back. He'll get a shot. Jerk. Wait, what's green and eats nuts? I don't know, Vince. What is green and eats nuts?
It's the comedy hour in the chat session, isn't it?
Oh, you can't leave us hanging. This is a live podcast, Vince. Type faster. Oh, I'm just going away. A moldy squirrel. All right. My second running back, because you took my first.
I did.
Is Bashal Tuden. I know. We've been disagreeing about Bashal since the beginning. I have a very hard time, Doug, getting over ball security. NFL coaches can be dicks, right? We know this. We all remember David Wilson, right? He fumbled early, then never saw the field again. Like he had disappeared from that offense, which is a shame because he was an electric back. Now, Coughlin might not be Cohen, right? They might not be the same player, but coughing up the ball is never good for a rookie. He's not great in pass pro either. So, yeah, he's electric. But if you can't hold on to the ball and you can't do pass pro, you're not getting on the field. Like you have to be so good to get on the field without those two qualities.
Uh-huh.
So, for me, Bigsby, Etienne, I don't want Bashal at all. But I know how you feel. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about why you love Bashal too?
Oh, well, okay. So I am of two minds here. I think he's more of a 2026 guy, not so much of a 2025 guy. Part of the reason for that is I don't see who emerges. I don't see who emerges out of that backfield. And certainly from a consistency where we can call it each week. So, okay, this is a Tank Bigsby week. This is a Travis Etienne week. This is a Bashal Tuten week. His explosiveness is, we don't say it too much because we don't talk much best ball on here, but he's going to be one of those this year in particular, best in best ball, because he's going to have his explosive plays because he's far too explosive not to have those explosive plays. But again, I think we're going to be waiting for Etienne to move on to another team, and then we'll see what they do in the draft next year. But yeah, as far as a redraft property, I don't know. RB5 before I'm starting to think about tapping the button there for him. And again, that's not against him. I like him as a prospect. I hear your concerns about the ball security issues because there were some of them, plenty of them actually. I think we were talking during the spring about 9 fumbles and relatively limited touches over the last 2 years. So yeah, no, good call her.
Oh, thank you, sir. All right, who is your next running back?
All right, JJ. In an effort to appeal or upset our younger audience, I will not be a Swiftie this year, in all likelihood. No Swiftie.
Even with their new album?
Not even with no, not a Swiftie. As a matter of context, and I'm talking DeAndre Swift, not your girl Taylor Swift, okay? As a matter of context, the last time Ben Johnson had DeAndre Swift as one of his running backs, Swift averaged just a shade over 10 touches per game and took a back seat to fantasy football legend Jamal Williams. Yes. You know who reminds me of a more explosive version of Jamal Williams? Kyle Monangai. I'm not going to make the claim that Swift won't help your team. In fact, he's probably a great target for zero RB advocates who just need their running backs to put up roughly 10 to 12 points most weeks. None of what I said to this point is about what happened 3 seasons ago. It is to make a point. Swift is the only back likely to make the final roster anyway who can do what he can do in the passing game for the Bears. He will have a role. Let's be clear. I'm not anti-Swift that he's just going to lose his job or become useless after week 8 or something like that. He'll probably be a top 25 back this year, just as he seemingly always is. I just don't think he's going to be a difference maker in fantasy. In my eyes, Swift will lose work as the season progresses because he is what he's always been, an undisciplined runner who bounces runs too often and doesn't run with power consistently. That will eventually drive Ben Johnson crazy. I don't think there's any question about that. And where did they spend most of their time in free agency, or most of their resources in free agency? Upgrading the interior part of that line. He's going to want to run inside. So in conclusion, again, Swift will have a role as long as he's healthy. I just don't think he's going to push for 250 touches for the 3rd straight season. So are you a Swiftie or are you not a Swiftie?
I am a Swiftie.
You're a Swiftie.
Listen, I haven't been a big fan of Swift, right? I didn't like when he was on the Eagles. Like when he was with the Lions, he was inconsistent, especially coming out with as much hype as he did. But his offensive coordinator was Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson then comes to Chicago, has an entire offseason to replace him, and doesn't. He doesn't replace him. He makes a 7th round pick in Kyle Monangai. Like, and even if he really liked Kyle Monangai, like he's a 7th round pick. So I think Swift is going to be a major asset in the passing game. And like you said, I see at least running back 3 value out of him. That's where I'm usually taking him. Except in, like you said, hero RB builds, and then it's usually my second RB. But I don't know. I am holding out hope. I am taking a hard hit of opium with Sean.
Yeah, I think in my estimation, or just in my way of thinking, I think people are holding out hope that he's going to become something more with Johnson, or being reunited with Johnson, like maybe top 15. I just don't think. I have him about where ADP has him, I believe, or at least from what little search I did last night on it. But no, I think it's going to be. He'll have upside again because he's going to be heavily involved in the passing game. It's going to be hard for a guy to have 50 catches and not be somewhat useful in PPR fantasy. So, but I just don't think he's going to be a difference maker when we need him to be a difference maker. But we can agree to disagree on this.
Well, we have a comment from DeAndre Swift's season. He's not too happy with your comments, Doug. So I want you to sit there and look at that comment and think about what you said while I talk about Jody Smith. Do you want to crush your draft this season? Then you need to access one of the most accurate rankers in the game. Jody Smith's 2025 fantasy football rankings with tiers are exclusively at fulltimefantasy.com. Football season is back, and Jody's legendary cheat sheet is ready to help you dominate draft day. Ranked number 2 overall last year in Fantasy Pros accuracy contest, Jody's work is trusted by serious fantasy players and is proven to win leagues. Use code BLITZ50 for 50% off your first 2 months and get early access to the rankings, tiers, and members-only contests. Sign up now at fulltimefantasy.com. That's fulltimefantasy.com. Go pro. Join Full-Time Fantasy. All right, DeAndre Swift season says he made the username 5 years ago, and we know how hard it is to change a username. Brother, you may need a burner. All right, Doug, let's get back to it. And let's start talking about some wide receivers.
All right.
We are avoiding.
I'll go first, at least at cost. I am out on Jordan Addison. I have him outside my top 50. I suppose I could justify him going in the wide receiver 40 range with a certain kind of build, but I think we have to look at his 3-game suspension as something more than that. Once we get past the first 3 weeks, Minnesota's next 2 games are in Ireland and England before the week 6 bye. My guess it's going to be difficult for Addison to get reintegrated into the offense during those weeks, meaning we could be waiting until week 7 before we see our first real contribution. Making matters worse, the week 7 game is against the Eagles. So if you're putting any validity or if you believe that the Eagles defense isn't going to fall that far off from last year, and there's no reason to, they still have Cooper DeJean, and they still have, I'm blanking on the guy from, I believe, Toledo. The first round corner from last year.
I was just talking about him today.
Sean,
who is it, Sean? Sean probably left the chat.
That's okay. If I think of it before I conclude, I'll real big fan of his too. Anyway, let's also make the assumption that Minnesota goes more run heavy this year, which makes sense given the fact that J.J. McCarthy will essentially be a rookie, and since the offense line was upgraded in the offseason. Even during a season in which Sam Darnold went crazy and T.J. Hawkinson was never fully healthy, Addison only had 6 games last year where he caught at least 5 balls and 3 in which he topped 70 yards receiving. If Hawkinson's all the way back and Vikings commit to the run like we think they will, then I can see Addison being the player that gets forgotten from time to time. Do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share on JJ? Ha ha ha.
I see what you did there. That's a lot of J's. First of all, it was Quinyon Mitchell.
Thank you. Jeez.
You're welcome.
Toledo. I can remember it was from Toledo.
Listen, can't ask for everything. Jordan Addison, I don't really like suspended players. I get nervous because I don't like starting off slow. And I know that you can start off slow and still come back, and it's like a bonus to get him when he's coming back. But I don't know. I have not drafted him. I'm not anti him just when he's on the clock. I usually like the players right around him a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
But I have no real feeling either way about Addison. If it wasn't for the suspension, I'd be drafting him.
I think it's fair to say, but I think we can write off those first five pre-bye weeks, and if it's kind of hard to take a number 2 receiver from an offense when we know that we may not get anything from him for half a season, and I guess that's me guessing there, but still, it's. I think I laid out the case pretty well. That Minnesota should be more run heavy. Justin Jefferson is going to get the ball 10 times a game. TJ Hawkinson is probably the number 2 option there. So we're waiting on at best, second option, if not third option. We're waiting on half a season for him. So I agree. I'll take number 1 receivers on suspension, like Rashee Rice. But even I thought about going with him on this because now we don't have a clue on that suspension. Is it middle of the season? Is it 6 or 10 games? Is it 4? Okay, if you want to blow your 4th, 5th, 6th round pick on a guy that you don't know how long he's going to be suspended, knock yourself out. That's not going to be me.
I had some early Rice, but ever since that it came out that they wanted 10 games, Lord,
yeah.
Like he could disappear for the rest of your season. All right, sir. For me, I'm avoiding the cheetah, Tyreek Hill. Now, what happens when that cheetah loses speed? Now, I know we saw some tape of him running a 100-yard dash, and he did really good. But then what happened last year? He had a wrist injury.
Yeah.
I don't understand what happened. Why wasn't he getting the ball deep anymore? I don't think it was the offense. Because it's always been a terrible offensive line. It's always been Tua. So I don't know what happened, and I don't understand, and I'm confused. And now he's back, and he still has a bad attitude. Supposedly he made up with the team and is really sure. But then he immediately comes out and makes some shitty comments about running backs. Like, if they start 0-4, he's going to demand a trade again. He's going to go in I just don't want to deal with Tyreek. He seems like a nightmare of a person to be around. And I just don't want him on my roster because I think he'll bring down the other players on it. You know, I look for my roster to have good chemistry. So I am not adding him to the mix. What do you think about Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, and you bring up solid points there, and I think sometimes very few of us in the fantasy community actually scout. Okay, but again, I guess I'm one of them. But my point being though is that sometimes you have to adjust your thoughts on players based on what we know about their mental makeup, right? And we've already talked about how Miami's season could go off the rails pretty quickly, and Tyreek Hill is a big reason why that could go off the rails. Yeah, and I don't think it's certainly not out of the question. I don't have their schedule in front of me, but it's certainly within question. I believe I want to say they have a late bye, but even if they don't, just like you said, 0-4, let's say 2-6. I think it's very possible that they win two of their first 8 games, or 2 of their first 6 games. Wow, go start out 2-6, 2 of their first 8 games, and that'll be about the time the trade deadline is coming up. Just like you said, he could demand a trade at that point. I don't think I will say one thing Miami has working for it is that the secondary. I was going to say the defense, but the secondary in particular, the pass rush should be pretty good. The secondary will probably be awful. So they'll probably be in shootouts. So if you're trying to make a case for Tyreek and you think he's going to stay on the straight and narrow all season, then you could say, well, they're going to be in a lot of negative game script. Outside of that, though, I think the prospect of Hill being anything more than my wide receiver 3 is scary. If I go running back at the end of let's say I'm the 111 or 112, and Tyreek Hill's my wide receiver 1, I don't think I'm doing well this season.
Well, like DeAndre Swift season mentioned, he held the ball for 1.6 seconds, right? Fastest in the NFL. It's hard for Tyreek to get open in 1.6 seconds. He said that he is targeting Achane. Vince Mapstone says that flip side, Tyreek is being drafted close to his floor and could be the steal of the season. That is absolutely true, Vince.
The only thing, JJ, go ahead. The only thing I'll add, I believe it's been a while since I looked at this too, but I believe Miami faced more cover 2 last year than just about any offense. Why? Because they're scared to death of Tyreek, and even an injured Tyreek, and Jalen Waddle beating them deep. So Jonnu Smith just got hyper targeted over the middle, and HN got a ton of screens and swing passes. I understand when you have that kind of explosiveness at those positions, great, but there's a reason Miami didn't do any better. They need to be able to use all their weapons, and one of the reasons that teams could do that is because the offensive line sucked. Well, the offensive line might be I won't say exponentially, incrementally better this year, but it's not going to be great. It's not even going to be close to great. So I think we're looking at another season where Tua's getting rid of the ball in 2.1, 2.2 seconds. League average is roughly about 2.5. And yes, that 0.3 of a second makes a big difference in NFL.
At least that's what Carla says.
Oh,
too soon. She's not listening. Don't worry.
Yeah, no. She'll hear about it though.
Only when I whisper it to her. Who is your next wide receiver, Doug? Who is your next wide receiver?
Do I have another receiver to talk about after that kind of insult? Oh, come on. I need to regroup. JJ, I marvel that people are still hoping that Cooper Kupp will be anything more than bench depth in fantasy. Now, we were both in Canton a couple weeks ago. In both drafts during the Kings Classic, during Expo weekend, Kupp went inside the top 90. In fact, I think he went 84 and 88, if I remember right. I have him in the 140 range, and that's because I moved him up. I think I have a formula that punishes for games missed. I kind of tweaked that a little bit because I wanted to be a little bit higher in Kupp than I was. Anyway, this is another case where I don't hate the player. I hate the ADP. I'm also not sure I like the fit in Seattle. With the Rams, Kupp and Matthew Stafford had a bit of a mind meld during their best years together. Stafford also had a reputation of being a quote-unquote kingmaker, a term that occasionally gets used when quarterbacks are able to elevate their receivers' abilities to the point where he becomes a start where he might not otherwise be. Now, to be clear, Kupp in his prime didn't need Stafford to become a star, but Stafford undoubtedly amplified his talents. At any rate, Seattle will be a run-heavy team. I don't see any way Kupp will be pushing for more than 6 or 7 targets a game. We should also expect the Seahawks to utilize a ton of 12 personnel. You know what we don't have very often in 12 personnel, JJ?
Slot receivers.
There you go. Kupp is expected to be Seattle's primary slot receiver. I am of the belief that Sam Darnold is neither the bad quarterback we saw in New York or Carolina, or the good one that we saw last year in Minnesota. I think he is capable, but can be rattled when he feels pressure. There is also the biggest concern I have for Kupp. He's 32 and has not played more than 12 games in 3 straight years. That is a lot of negatives for a player some people might be using in their flex spot. I would much rather have Stephon Diggs, Ricky Pearsall, Josh Downs, or Michael Pittman in that same area. What say you on Mr. Kupp?
I agree with Sean. Cooper should get a couple targets. Sean, you are so funny. No, he's another guy who I'm not drafting. I see him come up in my queue, and I'm like, nah, not today. Not today, Satan, as I like to say. That was going to be our thumbnail. Not today, Satan. Players I'm avoiding. You got me once, not twice. No, Kupp is never healthy. I understand he had amazing 2 seasons way back when. He's great when healthy, but he's not healthy. He's not healthy. He's getting older. We have to accept what he has become. You know, like Vince already mentioned, Torrey Horton is already being talked about a lot in camp. Is he going to supplant him? He's younger. He's faster. I don't know. But I just can't trust Kupp to make it through the year.
And to be clear now, Kupp is a good blocker. He will see plenty of snaps. When he's healthy, he will see plenty of snaps. That the snap percentage isn't what I'm pushing back against here. I'm pushing back about the health. I'm pushing back about the quality of the offense, so on and so forth. So I think we discussed Kupp pretty well there. You have a second guy you'd like to talk about, second receiver you'd like to talk about?
I do. You know, I vacillated on this one. Before I get to that, I just want to say that DeAndre said that he's off of CD, to be honest. He thinks Brian Schottenheimer is a run heavy, despite the Cowboys' run game being no good. I have to disagree with you, DeAndre. I think CeeDee Lamb is probably going to be the wide receiver 1 overall this year. I think George Pickens is in the final year where I trust him to be good. Like, because he's the same type of guy as Tyreek Hill, where at any second he might stab a teammate. You never know what's going to happen with George Pickens. It's like a little crazy. I like crazy, but not on my football team. So I did draft George Pickens, but this is the last year. If he can't hold it together for a full season again, he's with Tyreek. Now, for you. Should I go with the hot take? And I'm not saying hot take like hot takey, but the guy I really wanted to talk about, or the guy who I'm also avoiding? Who would you rather? Jerry Jeudy or Travis Hunter? You tell me.
Oh, talk to me about both of them. I want to hear about Jeudy first, though.
Jeudy, I wrote nothing about because I don't want Jeudy on my team. I don't know why. I this year I picked pick 6 in the Scott Fish Bowl. For some reason, I'm getting picks 5, 6, or 7 in every single draft. Like wherever I pick to go in Scott Fish is all I get. And every time Jerry Jeudy is at the top of my queue, not today, Satan, I say no. I'm not interested in him. Even if his success last year came with Flacco and now Flacco, I don't want them. I don't want any Brown on my team, except possibly Njoku or Tillman late.
Yeah.
Everybody else can eat a bag of dicks. I don't want them on my team. I'm going blue tonight. I hope nobody's listening to this. Sorry. Sorry, I generally don't curse. I think I've had too much caffeine today.
Wow.
So that's my Jerry Jeudy. Now, Travis Hunter. I know people love Travis Hunter. I know he's a unicorn. But you know what is also true about unicorns? They don't exist. If he goes onto the field as a cornerback, I'm an OC, right? I'm an OC going against Jacksonville. I see Travis Hunter, who could kill us on offense, come out as a cornerback. If I run the ball, I am going to have him clobbered on a block any way he can. I want somebody hitting him hard. If I'm doing a pass play, I'm running him deep every time he steps onto the field. I am going to use him up on defense so he's less of a weapon on offense. I get it. He is super athletic. He is an amazing player. But there's a reason why nobody in the NFL plays both ways. There's a reason. And you know, from the beginning, I said it's a financial reason. When he goes to re-up, how's he getting paid? He's not getting paid to play two positions and going to be like a $50 million a year player. It's not going to happen. What agent wants their guy to have half the career because he plays double the snaps? Like, volume is undefeated, man. Like, you want volume, but not too much. I'm sorry, Vince. He said his daughter's listening. And he has to convince her that horn horses are real. Listen, if that's the worst thing your daughter heard, good for her. I apologize. But yeah, so I'm out. And listen, I want Travis Hunter to be everything we want him to be. I don't see it as possible. I don't.
Guys, Sean Teague in particular, this is a school teacher talking this way, okay? So just to remember.
You don't say that too loud or my kids will hear. Although they talk a lot worse than I do.
Yeah, I know. I've heard kids talk, unfortunately. Just talk a little bit about your selections because I'm completely on board with them. When I see Jerry Jeudy in the queue, yeah, I'm okay. And here's the thing, or here's a thing. So when did he emerge? He emerged. Two things happened. Cedric Tillman got hurt. Okay, Cedric Tillman's breakout happened before Jerry Jeudy's breakout last year, right? Okay, that's number one. Number two, his breakout happened when Jameis started rolling, right? Not with any of the other quarterbacks. Now, we can sit here and say, okay, well, Joe Flacco's the same gunslinger and whatever that Jameis Winston is. Well, okay, if you believe that, then what do you think the chances are that he'll gunsling his way to Tillman before he does Jeudy, just like Jameis did last year? They're both guys who want to go deep. Who goes deep? It's Tillman, not Jeudy. Njoku goes deep. And it's not to say that Jeudy doesn't go deep. It's just that those other two guys tend to run deeper routes. So, and for all we know, I think if I remember from 2023 correctly, I think it was Flacco and Njoku that were really hooking up. Now, granted, Tillman wasn't playing, and it was Cooper instead of Tillman, and Jeudy wasn't there yet, I don't believe. But point being is there's way too many things, I think, working against Jeudy for me to think that he's going to be a wide receiver 3, or at least a consistent one. Going to Hunter, I think everything that you said is spot on. And I saw this a little bit at Colorado last year. When I was going through the rookie profiles and watching the rookie film and whatnot, people were. I have never seen this watching any other player. Teams were really trying to hammer Hunter after the whistle. It was. I won't say that everything was dirty, but it was. Teams were definitely trying to take shots at Hunter whenever they could. Yeah, I've said multiple times already. He had trouble holding up in college. College is a lightweight game compared to the NFL.
Yeah, you're with the heavyweights now.
You think he's going to play 100 play? I think he averaged 110 plays in college last year. Okay, let's say he's 100, and I don't care. Maybe you know what? Maybe he goes for the first month or two, and they talk about him not getting tired. Well, the NFL is more than just a cardiovascular sport. It's also a physical endurance sport. Okay, so when you get through 2 months, guess what? You have 2 more. You may have 3 more, depending on how good your team is. Okay, you think he's going to be working and operating the same way in week 12 that he is in week 1?
Well, how many rookies, Doug, hit the rookie wall, right? That's why
playing one side,
called the rookie wall.
Playing one side, playing 60 snaps, less than 60 snaps a game. Now he's playing double the snaps. Yeah, I have exposure to him in one dynasty league. I may stumble my way into getting him in one redraft league. I don't know. I can't get excited. I can get excited about the upside. Oh God, I can get excited about the upside. I just don't know that he's going to be around when we need him.
Well, as Doug said, he gets excited when he exposes himself to too much Travis Hunter. Take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, that's what I said.
All right. You know what? Let's talk a little bit about tight ends. Now, I'll go first on this guy. Jonnu Smith. I have a theme of former Dolphins and current Dolphins on this list. But when I was starting to look through, right, because for this exercise, I went through all the tight ends and tried to see who I didn't really have on any of my rosters. Yeah. I realized that of the top 16, like except for if I can't get Bowers or McBride, I have every other tight end on at least one roster because I think they all have some upside. And then I came to do 2 guys, Pitts and Jonnu Smith. Now, I'm going with Jonnu because except for last year, he has never posted a tight end 1 season, ever. The highest he ever did before last year was in 2020 when he was the tight end 16. Right? As DeAndre Swift in our comment said, last year, after the concussion, Tua was getting rid of the ball as fast as he could so he didn't get hit again. And who was the recipient of most of those targets? Jonnu Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers is not going to do that. He's not going to run a fast-paced offense. It's going to be slow. Yep. It's going to be methodical. He's going to wait for DK to get open. Like, it is not the same offense. Arthur Smith is going to use him in all these different crazy ways to show how smart he is. Like, I couldn't be more out on Jonnu Smith than I am. Like, I would draft Joe Mixon at running back before I draft Jonnu Smith as tight end. Now, you also had Jonnu on your list. So what do you want to add?
Yeah, well, let's see. Considering you'd rather have syphilis than Joe Mixon, I don't want to wish any disease on you for Jonnu.
Chlamydia. Herpes.
No. Wow.
I would have students in 8th grade have to take. They learned all about the venereal diseases.
Yeah.
And it's always the funniest when they come to that part in health class because they always come back with like wide eyes and a little bit scared of people. It's my favorite time of the year. Yeah.
Well, I would have strongly considered Jonnu Chlamydia Smith as a strong mid-round tight end had he stayed in Miami. And you laid out a great case. I feel like I'm just going to be repeating some of the stuff here. Of course, Arthur Smith doesn't want us to have nice things, so he ruined him and the Steelers front office, ruined a perfectly good tight end situation by introducing Jonnu to a room that already had Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington. Now, while the reports out of Pittsburgh are positive regarding how much the Steelers will use both, that's Freiermuth and Jonnu, and we need not look any further than what happened with Kyle Pitts and Jonnu a few seasons ago with Arthur Smith in Atlanta to believe this could happen where they focus on the tight ends. I cannot imagine a situation in which any of us will have much luck predicting whether to start Freiermuth or Smith in what should be a run-heavy offense. Slow-paced run-heavy offense, like you mentioned. I went to some high-stakes ADP to see if Smith was being treated any differently than he is with the more casual crowd, and the answer is surprisingly no. He's tight end 17 in those leagues. And now, granted, there's some leagues where you don't get to draft 17 tight ends. The tight ends going right after him are Zach Ertz, Hunter Henry, Britton Strange, and Isaiah Likely. I don't care if Likely is hurt. I'm taking all 4 of those guys over Jonnu because you can convince me of the upside on Likely. I think Strange is an easy 50 catch guy if he wants to be. Zach Ertz, we saw last year. I think I'm sure he was a top 10 tight end. I think he was a top 6 or 8. And Hunter Henry, I have as a back end tight end 1 this year. So take all of those guys. You could push John New into the early 20s. I don't think I'm taking him in the early 20 tight ends. I don't know where I have him. I think it's probably in the high 30s somewhere. I don't want anything to do with John New Smith this year.
Now, Doug, now that we're done with our list, were there any other guys? I know I listed my 2 wide receivers. Were there any other guys who almost made your list?
This was a more difficult exercise than I thought, because I can usually in past years you can make a case as to nope, don't like this. I don't like this guy. You mentioned Kyle Pitts. I had I looked at the sheet earlier, I would have pivoted and probably went Kyle Pitts. I don't want to be out on Kyle Pitts, but I think we have to ask ourselves the possibility that the reason he doesn't look like he did as a rookie is because his leg never healed. His knee never healed all the way. So I want to continue to believe in Kyle Pitts, but I think there's also a chance he's just not, again, with the whole knee thing. I just don't think that maybe he's not the athlete that he was back when he was a 20-year-old and going for 1,000 yards. And that's nothing against him. I just don't think the knee is healthy. So outside of that, again, I can make cases. I will say I'm rarely ever out on somebody. There's everybody. I don't have a do not draft list. I have I'll buy at a deep a discount type of thing
if they fall far enough.
Yes,
like Stephon Diggs is on that list for me.
Yes,
I don't like his ADP, but he tends to fall to me like after his ADP. And then I'm like, I'll take that risk.
Yeah,
I don't know who else. Anthony Richardson, I won't draft.
Yeah, that makes sense.
QBs is hard because QBs is really deep. And I can make a legitimate argument for almost all of them.
Well, I think we said on this show here a couple of weeks ago, at the very least, there's no fewer than maybe 20 quarterbacks. I think maybe I said 18 quarterbacks I would be willing to start on some level. I mean, when you go 18 deep at a position that you only need 12 options, okay, I do not draft this guy. Well, guess what? You can draft these other 5 even if you wait on the position. So yeah, I don't know. I
have found, Doug, I don't have any Devon Achane on my team.
Yeah, I'm not there yet either. I still have a lot of drafts to do yet. I am sure he will, but man, I don't like the idea of coming into a season with a calf injury. And I don't know if the injury is the only thing that's got you or if it's just anti-Dolphins, but
it's the injury, it's the O-line, and it's just the Dolphins vibe.
Yeah.
John says he's never been 18 deep his whole life. That's true, buddy. That's true.
Wasn't he the one telling us that he had the kids he had to explain that to, or is that Vince?
That was Vince.
All right. Well, don't put Vince and Sean in the same room.
I believe Sean has like 32 kids. Isn't that true, Sean? He's prolific, like Matt Donnelly.
Oh, no.
Anybody else you want to talk about, or should we say goodbye?
I think we should say goodbye.
All right. Well, it's time to say goodbye then. Doug, let the good people know where they can find you.
Okay, so I have way too many things to talk about here. So yes, I know. I have big boards coming out this week and next. We talked about this on last week's show. PPR is out. The half-point PPR is coming soon, probably as early as tomorrow. And I'm going to try to get the rest of the big boards out this week. And I'll have an auction article the following week, hopefully. And then that's with FF Today with the huddle. Still in the process of bringing people in and setting together a plan as far as our regular season content. So that production on articles there is kind of slow at the moment, but please check us out starting as early as next week, because we'll start having content on the regular from there. So those are my 2 big things. You want to take us home there, JJ?
Absolutely. Thank you for listening. Thank you for commenting. Please like and subscribe. You can find me on the socials at JJ Wenner. Pretty easy. I do want to give a quick shout out to our buddy Drew Davenport. He did a 3-episode series called the Salary Cap Summit. It was fantastic. The first 2 nights, he live commentated by himself an auction, 2 different auctions, obviously. The third night, he had a all-star cast of guests. Very good information. I highly recommend it. We're going to be back next week at 8 p.m. with Marcus Grant, talking about some late round league winners. But until then, love yourself, know your worth. You are enough. Boat drinks, my friends. Boat drinks.